Welcome back to Next Gen Console Watch, our show following everything happening with the latest gaming hardware. I'm Daemon Hadfield, and this week I'm joined by Ryan McCaffrey, host of IGN's Xbox podcast, Podcast Unlocked.
Good to see you, Daemon.
You as well. It's a two-man show today. We're going to be beginning our gamescom predictions. Gamescom is a huge trade show coming up later in August, and fittingly, Xbox is the only one of the first-party console manufacturers that will be in attendance. No PlayStation, no Nintendo this year, so you get a two-man show. I'm sure Ryan has some interesting predictions to make, and then I can comment on some of the third-party games we expect to see there. But in any case, Gamescom is coming up, in, if you believe it's the last week of August. Xbox, I believe Ryan has said that they're going to have their largest presence ever there this year. So let's get started. Hit us with one of your big predictions this year.
Well, I figured we'd start crazy because that's the fun part, is just going a little crazy. And I tried to keep these, especially this first one, within the realm of possibility. Like, it's not completely outlandish. So here goes. First up, the Microsoft earnings report just came out, and hardware revenue is down quite a bit, 31%. We were talking a lot about this on Podcast Unlocked this week. And so what does Xbox need? Well, they could use a jolt to hardware. Gamescom is not only the biggest game trade show in the world now in the demise of E3, but it really is a global stage for video games, more so than really E3 ever was, which was always more of a, kind of more of a North American thing. So the Xbox Handheld is all but confirmed, courtesy of Phil Spencer when I interviewed him back at IGN Live in June. I think this could be the place where we get the unveiling of the Xbox Handheld. And I could see them, if they unveil it during the opening night live showcase with Jeff Keighley, and then perhaps have, dummy mock-ups of it in glass cases in their booth on the Gamescom show floor that people can check out as they walk through. I don't think we would get a price or even any specs or really any details other than here it is, we're building it, and it exists. But I do think it is feasible. I don't know quite how likely it is, but I think it could happen.
I think it would be very cool. It certainly would be very smart, just as you say, hardware sales way down. Just the sales of Xbox Series consoles is just slow to a crawl. All these acquisitions and mergers don't really seem to be moving the needle in terms of hardware sales for them. But a handheld Xbox would be something that their main competition, PlayStation, does not have at this moment. So that would seem to make a lot of sense and would be very cool and exciting. Anything on the games front, Ryan?
Of course. So I have long thought that Doom: The Dark Ages seems like it would be more likely to come out in the first half of the year than the second half. Now, if id Software needs more time, of course they're going to get that time. But we've got Fable for 2025. That's another heavy hitter. I expect that's going to be the big fall game. And not that there can't be more than one fall game, but Doom Eternal came out in March of 2020, right as the pandemic was hitting us all. And so March of 2025 would make 5 years between Doom Eternal and Doom: The Dark Ages. There was 4 years between Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal. Games get tougher and tougher to make, take longer to make. I think just about a 5-year window works pretty well. And also, I think it's worth taking into account that Doom: The Dark Ages, that reveal trailer showed off a good bit of gameplay. It was not like a lot of other Xbox games that have been announced over the last few years where it's just a cinematic trailer that doesn't show any gameplay whatsoever. It was quite the opposite with that Doom: The Dark Ages reveal trailer. So, where I'm going with this, I think there's a pretty good chance that Doom: The Dark Ages ships in spring of 2025, and as such, they'd have to get the PR and marketing campaign into high gear, and as such, I think there's a decent chance that we see like a nice gameplay deep dive of Doom at Gamescom, whether it's on the opening night live stage or in the Xbox booth, just like playing on a wall somewhere. But I think that could be a pleasant surprise if Doom were to make another showing just after it was unveiled a couple months ago at the Xbox Showcase in June.
Yeah, pleasant indeed, because that game looks badass.
Yes. That's almost putting it mildly at that point.
So there's also this fall to be taken into account. We know that Xbox has a pretty big lineup this fall. They're going to have Call of Duty Black Ops 6 launching day one into Game Pass in October. Stalker 2 is in November. And then there's also supposed to be both Avowed and Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, which we're still waiting on release dates for both of those. So would you say it's likely all or most of those would be shown, and maybe we could get some release dates that we're waiting on?
Yeah, that's prediction number 3 is Avowed and Indiana Jones and the Great Circle specifically. We've got to get release dates for those, and whether that takes the form of a trailer in the aforementioned opening night live showcase or just a trailer that Xbox themselves puts out during Gamescom, and maybe they're looping the trailer on a big video wall in their booth. But it's kind of time. Like, if I would say, Daemon, if we don't get release dates for either Indiana Jones and the Great Circle or Avowed, they're probably not coming out this year. So if they are both still happening in 2024, Gamescom seems like the latest we could possibly get a release date. I mean, it's not impossible that they could still come out this year and we don't get a release date in as you said, late August is when Gamescom happens. But it does seem like if those dates don't drop at Gamescom, we can probably pencil those in as 2025 games, which again wouldn't be the end of the world, but Indy would really make a great, fall big game for the holidays for Xbox. Avowed certainly shows a lot of promise as well. It's looked better and better every time they've shown it. Call of Duty, as you pointed out, is going to be the big one in October, but that's also multi-platform. As far as the platform exclusives, big exclusive game, Indiana Jones is it. I would say Avowed is kind of a, the B to the A that is Indy. So it's time. We got to get those dates.
There's one more game, kind of a smaller game that I wanted to ask you about. I know you and I have been looking forward to this one for a long time, but it's also like Stalker 2 has had some delays because of the ongoing war in Ukraine, and that's Replaced. This is the very cool pixel art sort of cinematic platformer inside-like that we've been waiting on. Just because of its, geographical proximity to Gamescom, any chance you might see this one here?
I think there's a chance we might see it at Gamescom. As for if it's coming out, I mean, I guess it's a coin flip at this point, but I apologize if I'm repeating myself from an earlier episode of the show, but my personal gut feeling is that it's not coming out this year. And the reason for that is threefold. One, we didn't get, after that game has previously appeared on Jeff Keighley's stage and Microsoft's stage, it did not appear at either of those stages in June. So that's reasons 1 and 2. And then the third reason that I personally don't think it's coming out this year is I got to play it at the Playdays, Summer Game Fest Playdays event. I loved it. It's even deeper than I thought it was in a very, very great way. It is gorgeous. The camera work is incredible. The lighting is incredible. Just the look of it, the vibe of it is so cool. But there's little RPG kind of elements to it. I was walking around in a little like junkyard kind of barely held together town and talking to NPCs and doing some fighting and taking some quests. So there's even more to it than I originally thought, but it wasn't running super well to the point where I didn't say anything. The person running the demo came over to me and was like, the frame rate's not great right now. They're working on it, which, that's fine. It's an in-development game. That'll get smoothed out. But those three things combined, the frame rate being what it was in June, and then it not showing up on either Jeff Keighley's or Microsoft's stage in June, has me fairly pessimistic that we're going to see that game this year. But again, we've got plenty to look forward to. And as you said, Daemon, given that game has been developed in unprecedented conditions along with Stalker 2, nobody's going to begrudge that team a little more time if they need to polish up Replace. But yeah, I'm with you. Super pumped for that game. I'm not optimistic it'll hit this year. I would be delighted for a release date trailer to drop and for a nice polished game to come out this fall. But for now, I'm kind of thinking probably not.
All right, well, outside of Xbox, we know that Ubisoft is going to be there. They've already said they're going to be bringing Star Wars Outlaws and Assassin's Creed Shadows, which is their big games this fall. Ryan, did you just do our final preview for Star Wars Outlaws?
I had the privilege, yes. I got to play 4 hours of Star Wars Outlaws, split into 2 chunks, a 3-hour chunk on one planet and a 1-hour slice of another. And I have to say, Daemon, I went in excited for it. I think like the game looks good. I like Kay. I like Nyx, her little sort of alien dog-like companion, who actually factors into gameplay. You can send Nyx to distract enemies. He'll go out and just like play dead, and the enemies will be like, huh? And then they'll wander over, and as they start to then turn and walk back to their post, you can sneak up on them and knock them out. So Nyx is cool. I like Kay. But what really pleasantly surprised me about it, besides the fact that it's a stealth game, which is what I've been waiting for Ubisoft to make me a stealth game, ideally in the form of Splinter Cell, for quite a while. But Star Wars Outlaws is totally a stealth game if you want it to be. You can still just blast everyone with your blasters if you want to, but it's a stealth game as well. So I love that, and I just really like that it felt, all the activities in there felt pretty organic. And what I mean by that is, I don't know about you, Daemon, I've kind of gotten, shall I say, maybe apathetic's a little too harsh of a word, but I have a tough time getting hyped up for a lot of the Ubisoft open world games, which is most of them, because they tend to be really good games, but they just tend to feel very like checklisty. Like you're just there killing time so that they keep you in the game longer. Well, with Outlaws, there is plenty to do. I wandered over to a sabacc table at one point in a town. I wandered over, they had a little like arcade mini game with a like vector graphics, like old school arcade game. There was I don't know what the alien creatures are called in the Star Wars universe, but the equivalent of horses, where you could bet on these like holographic horse races, and then some little like side quests with NPCs. So there was a lot to do. But in this game, compared to other Ubisoft open world games, it all felt more organic. Like I wasn't just marking things off on a to-do list. So I liked that about it a lot as well. So I went in hyped up for it, and I came out looking forward to playing a good bit more, even after putting in 4 hours worth. So yeah, I'm excited for Outlaws. I think it's going to be good.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one and AC Shadows as well. I actually tend to like the Ubisoft open world formula, and I also love Star Wars, and I also love feudal Japan. So it's really nice we're getting both of these games just within months of each other.
Yeah, and Shadows appears to be really doubling down on stealth more so than previous Assassin's Creed games as well. So that one's also up on my wish list this year.
Okay, and then a great way to make sort of an educated guess, or an educated wish, if you will, for what else is going to be at Gamescom, is to look at the announced partners that have already been revealed. So those include Blizzard, I would assume whatever the latest Diablo 4 season is.
Vessel of Hatred.
Yeah,
yes.
That's probably what they're going to be showing off there. Capcom is there, and they've got Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster coming out in September, which I think, Ryan, you just put on your short list of games you're looking forward to playing this year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I love the original Daemon. I know you do too, from the early 360 days. And the remaster seems to be closer to a remake. Like, it looks really good. And I'm ready to dive back into the original's my favorite. I don't know about you, but I always preferred the first one over all the rest. And I'm looking forward to playing that one again for the first time in 15 years, maybe longer.
Yeah. I think Capcom will also give us a release date for Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection. We know it's coming this year, still waiting on a date.
Sadly, not to Xbox for some reason.
Yeah, well, they're working on it, though, right? They're going to sort that out, hopefully.
Yeah.
And then EA is going to be there. I would have to imagine, well, they'll have their football game, whichever that is called these days. But then they've got Dragon Age: The Veilguard, which we're waiting on a release date for. And I think that would be a really nice time to announce the release date for this one.
Agreed.
Since it's also supposed to be coming this year. Square Enix is a partner, and they've got Visions of Mana coming out just like a few days after Gamescom on August 29th. And then later this year in November, they've got Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake coming out, which I'm very excited for because I love that HD 2D style.
Me too. I would like every classic game to either get a sequel or like a remake.
Yes.
In that HD 2D style. Just put it in everything. It's my favorite art style of the last like 5 years.
Agreed. And then there are a couple, 3 smaller publishers, but I think there's a good guess we can make for each one. First, THQ Nordic is going to be there, and they've got Epic Mickey Rebrushed coming out in September. That'll probably be playable there. Pearl Abyss is coming, and they've got that Doke V game, which is, it was announced as sort of like a Pokemon-like with very current gen, very pretty current gen graphics. But we haven't gotten any updates on that since 2021. And then at Opening Night Live last year, which kicks off Gamescom, they announced Crimson Desert, which is, I think, the follow-up to Black Desert Online.
Yeah, it's an MMO, right?
Yeah. And then finally, Focus Entertainment. They have a game that was announced last summer that was a surprise, but I bet everyone has forgotten about it at this point, and that is John Carpenter's Toxic Commando.
I had forgotten about that one.
Right? But it was revealed last summer. I don't know. I don't know of anything else that Focus Entertainment has going on, so maybe John Carpenter's Toxic Commando will make another appearance. There you have it. That's a little bit of a preview what to expect from coming up from Gamescom later on this month. We will be there live streaming all these game demos and playing games on the show floor, so please be excited for that. We have the results of the poll from last episode. We were talking about, we're sort of reevaluating and comparing Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, PlayStation Plus Premium, and we asked you which top tier game subscription is the best value today. And here's one of the maybe a few instances, Ryan, where Xbox wins in a landslide. 72.5% of respondents said that Game Pass Ultimate is a much better deal is the better value than PlayStation Plus Premium.
I question the other 20-something% who voted for PlayStation on that one.
Yeah. Yeah, because the difference does seem to be pretty clear between those two. New poll for next episode. 2 new controllers were just announced this week. There's this special edition Astrobot controller for PlayStation 5. I am not in any need of a new PS5 controller, but I want this one because it's super cute. And then Ryan, Xbox just announced a transparent Xbox controller today. Is that right?
Oh, to use the correct term, Daemon, translucent.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I stand corrected.
Yeah, not completely see-through.
Yeah.
But yes, translucent. This one's blue. This one, I have to imagine there will be more colors in this same style, and I'm all for it. I like as many unique and interesting. I mean, they're almost like the sneakers of the video game world, where you just, they're conversation starters. Somebody comes over, notices your nice controller, like mine here is specifically themed after the Xbox 360 controller. It's an homage to that. So it's not particularly like striking to the eye, but if you know, you know. So yeah, I like seeing these unique controllers, and Xbox has been very good about them for many years now.
Well, this talk of new controllers leads us to this week's poll question. What is your favorite controller these days? Is it just the PS5 DualSense Edge, or on Xbox you got your regular wireless controller and then the Elite controller, or do you actually prefer the Nintendo Switch Pro controller? Make sure to vote at IGN the day this episode goes live. We'll share the results with you next episode. And that's going to do it for this edition of Next Gen Console Watch. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you to Jobert and everyone else working behind the scenes here in our LA studio to make this episode possible. My name is Daemon. We'll be back next week with more on the latest gaming hardware news, and we'll see you then.